So most people have dreams. Everyone has habits, whether good or bad. And those habits strung together become your rituals and routines that you do every day. And a lot of people have goals. But what most people do not have is a dream management system that ties together all of these things in an easy step-by-step way that you can actually reliably follow through on, not just at the start of the year, but all throughout the year, and make it a habit and part of your life. Because a lot of times when we talk about goals, we start talking about SMART goals. Get an accountability partner, get a habit tracker and track your progress, and make sure you always write your goals down and make sure you review it every day. And there becomes a lot of advice, and some of it's good advice around goal setting. But even if it is all good advice, there still becomes a difficulty. How do you marry all of that advice together in a simple system that's not so overwhelming that you can actually do? So in this video, I want to talk about my 3-step dream management system. And it's one system, one routine that you can do that will have a remarkable change and a huge impact on your life. Okay, so this is what I call my time funnel. Just ignore this. This was a mistake. If you have this vision for an intentional life, you need your hours and your days to add up to your weeks, all being intentional, so it adds up to an intentional life. So I have a 3-step process, but the first time you do it, it's a little bit different than the other times. So let me just explain the first time how you do it, and then I'll get into the system. So basically what you'll do is you start with yearly planning. So what I have here in this planner, it's also in the PDF, is you have your year, and then you chunk it into 4 outcomes based on the quarters. So you say, okay, this year I want to write a book. So by the end of quarter 1, I want to be here. By the end of quarter 2, I want to have this outcome. By the end of quarter 3, by the end of quarter 4, just to give yourself manageable outcomes. Then when you get to quarterly planning, you'll do the same thing. So this right here, this is your quarter 1 timeline split up into its month. So if it was the start of the year, that'd be January, February, and March. So then when you get to like your monthly spread, there's this timeline across the top, and you break it down into, okay, by the end of week 1 of the month, I want to be here. By the end of week 2, by the end of week 3, by the end of week 4. And then when you look at your week, you create a daily outcome. So if at the end of the week, this is where I want to be, then at the end of day 1, I need to be here. At the end of day 2, at the end of day 3. So that's just to give you an idea of how this time funnel works. Now I want to give you the steps to make sure there's actually top-down alignment, because it's not enough to just merely break it up into the steps. You want to make sure that the vision matches, that you have top-down alignment, and you want to make sure that you reevaluate, because you can set a plan at the beginning of the year. You say, okay, July, this is my outcome, but things happened, maybe you procrastinate, maybe you had an adverse experience in your life, and basically just stuff doesn't go according to plan. So you need a routine to regularly reorient yourself and reroute. Okay, we wanted to be here, but now we'll recalculate, and this is where we want to be now. So it goes in 3 steps. So you start at the level you're on. This is where you just ignore this for a second. So let's say that I'm monthly planning, for example. You start at the level you're on, and you go backwards and forwards. So that means, what I mean by that is, let's say I'm monthly planning for July. So at the start of July, I would sit down with my planner, and I'm going to just think about and reflect on last month. So that would be June. How did things go last month? What type of person have I been becoming? What did I do last month that will still matter 5 years from now? And then I'll kind of vision forward to this month, July, and I'll say, what would an ideal month look like for me this month? How can I be intentional? What emotions do I want to feel? And in the PDF I have linked, I do have some examples of questions you could ask. So then you go 1 level up. And when you go 1 level up, there's not really an action you need to take here. You're just reviewing, where did I want to be? So if I'm planning for July, I would go up to my quarterly work, and I would look at, okay, I had these 3 benchmarks for the quarter, and I said by the end of July, I wanted to have it outlined. I'm just kind of making an arbitrary example. And so you review, what was your outcome for the quarter to make sure that you have top-down alignment? Okay, by the end of July, I want to have this book outlined, let's say. Then you go 1 level down to the weekly level, and you chunk out your month in weeks. So this is where, when I'm monthly planning, at the top of the page, I'm segmenting into weekly outcomes. At the end of week 1, this is where I want to be. At the end of week 2, this is where I want to be. Week 3 and week 4. So if you do this at every level, it makes sure that you have top-down alignment. You go up a level and see, okay, at the start of the quarter, where did I want to be? And then you can go even a level more granular, and you can say, okay, how can I make this quarterly outcome happen at the weekly level? Week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. So this process is so simple. This is what I do when I weekly plan, monthly plan, yearly plan, and it can take as long or as short as you want it to take, but it's just a really simple, kind of intuitive system just to make sure that all of your things get done. So if you would like this broken down a little bit more granularly to what type of questions do I actually ask myself when I'm yearly planning or quarterly planning or weekly planning, because there is a different emphasis at different stages. So if you would like this broken down a little bit more, I will link my dream management playlist where I have a separate video for each stage of this process so that you can design your life and so that your days add up to your weeks, which add up to your months, which add up to your quarters, which add up to years of intentionality.